Welcome to Eastlake. We are an inclusive faith community dedicated to the free search for truth and meaning, seeking to live out a more just and life-giving spirituality in the modern world. We see faith as less about doctrines and dogmas demanding total agreement, but a life to be lived, enjoyed, and given away to others. What unites us is a growing awareness that life is a gift and love is the point. We welcome the entire human family, regardless of race, age, creed, physical abilities, marital or economic status, gender identity, or sexual orientation. So if you are curious and have come to see, if you are tired and have come to rest, if you are grateful and have come to share, if you are journeying and have come to grow, if you are wounded and have come to heal, if you are joyful and have come to shine, welcome home. Today, we hear from Jason Lewis as he wraps up our series, Winter is Coming. Please check the description for links to our quarterly Spotify playlist and guided meditation.
Well, hey everybody, and welcome to Eastlake. My name is Jason, and I'm really excited to be closing out the last message in the series, Winter is Coming. Now, if you know the phrase Winter is Coming, then you probably also know the show Game of Thrones, right? And this foreboding phrase from House Stark, right? Winter is coming. This idea that like an eternal winter lies before us. And when we come to this holiday, I think for a lot of us, it can feel that way, right? There are endless things to do. There's endless expectations. The bar for what a good experience is in this holiday season is incredibly high. And as a result, if you're anything like me, you're trying to jam it all in, right? You want to make this season as meaningful as you possibly can. And so we say yes to everything. We jump into everything. And we're in search of this magic that is incredibly hard to find. And so things change. We've changed. The way we pursue and connect with and process this holiday as we've aged from children to adulthood, it continues to evolve and change. And so the hard part is that who we once were, what we once were moved by, the stories and the events, it's not the same. The things we've undergone in our life, maybe the pain and the grief that we have, has changed and shaped this holiday season into something that we don't recognize and we're struggling to move forward in. Maybe we're at a point in our life where we're just tired of kind of the same old thing. And we really want to create something that we can never forget, just a memory and a season and a window where all seemed right and all seemed good, to really make this holiday season as special as we can. And that's really challenging to do, especially as I get older, because I realize I have a 6-year-old now. And for him, it's all very real. All of the story, all of the magic, all of the things that live inside this season, they're all very real. But for me, boy, sometimes it feels like an eternal winter. I'm struggling to find the same magic that I once did. And so if you've attended the series at all, you know that I spoke about this the first week with Annie, my friend Annie, my sister Callie, and Kristen, and we all shared kind of where we're at and how we feel about this season and what we really hope for this season and what's really challenging about trying to make the magic show up. And then Keisha, my friend, she spoke the second week about that perfect holiday, the one that you don't forget. The one that really sits in your mind is this was a magical time. This was a thing that occurred that really, in essence, it restored my hope and it gave me hope. And that the beauty in that and the power in having hope as a thing that can move you through life and bring magic to your life, what a tremendous gift. And what that can feel like when hopes are dashed and the complexity in that. But it was such a lovely message, and it was such a great point, because I realized all of a sudden after talking to them, really what we're trying to do in the end is we're trying to make this holiday season mean something. That's what we're looking for. How do you make this mean something? Because the simple truth is what helped us make it mean something before just doesn't work the same. And so the problem is that because there are some cultural and some spiritual and some like historical ways of moving through this holiday, we think that we're going to find meaning on the other side of it, not recognizing that we're different people, all of us. And what may mean something to me may not mean something to you. So then how do you go about and shape your holiday, right? And that's kind of what I want to talk about is how do you make this holiday mean the most? And it's a little bit different for every person. So I kind of came up with 3 general ideas that are really helpful for me. And I hope and have been, and I hope that they are for you as well. So hopefully you can journey along with me here. So the first thing, when I was like, I got to make this holiday mean something, because, and just to be clear, right, we're here, okay? Like this is like 1 week till Christmas. So I'm sure everybody right now is inundated with a million different things to participate in. So it's now that game of this is the crunch time window, right? So we're trying to get in those last Christmas parties, those last present wrappings, those last holiday, greetings and cards and family gatherings and dinners and all kinds of stuff for the various holidays we celebrate, and how much that is a pressure, right? So the first thing you have to do is be here. And by be here, I mean be present. And everybody knows that, right? I think most of us know, like, yeah, the best memories in my life, I was there for, But what I actually mean is, like, you need to, like, be locked in on what this moment is right now. And the only way you can do that is you have to create some margin. And that basically means, like, we have our day-to-day life, and then most people work their same crazy busy life, and then they jam inside of it a holiday season, right? So they're like already under the gun. And then it's like, hey, add these 15 events and these 20 obligations and these 50 expectations and feel really present for the holiday. It's like, it's never going to happen. You're going to get exhausted. You're going to burn out. And then also, too, tragically, you'll just fly through the holidays so quick that you're not going to have any sense that you were really in the room. And that's what makes things magical. That's what makes things count. You got to be in the room for it. So you need to make some margin. That's really simple. You got to say no to a lot of things, right? You got to say no so that you can actually have it. You have to give up some stuff to keep some of the things that really matter. And that kind of is my second little tip here, which is just to reduce your options. Like, don't say yes to everything, because the truth is that what we know about human beings and their brains and the way we like to make decisions is that when we actually have less options, we are actually much more happy with the choices that we make. Like I've said it before, if you're picking breakfast cereals and it's Cheerios and Cinnamon Toast Crunch, you always know that Cinnamon Toast Crunch is the winner. But if it's Cinnamon Toast Crunch and Fruit Loops and Trix and Cookie Crisp and Ball, like, you might as well just pick any of them, right? It's hard to know which one counts. So reduce your options. Try to say yes only to the things that really seem like a space where you can make some meaning, that seem exciting and fulfilling and moving. You know what I mean? And then the last thing is to triage your focus, which basically means, like, once you've kind of said, I've got my margin, I've reduced my options, so now I have these things I'm going to do, then it's about paying attention to the fact that likely we won't get it all done. So how do we say yes to the stuff that's the most important first, that we can ensure that time and that space for us is going to be the most useful, the most fun, and the most meaningful. And so if we have that basic idea, like, you got to be present, you got to be here, right, to witness all this that's happening around us in this season, then the second thing you really want to do, and I think we all know this, right, is we want to connect. That's what makes anything feel meaningful, right? Like, sorry, but for me, it's people that make most of my life special. It's not to say that I don't find beautiful things and meaningful things alone. It's just that when I come to certain seasons, and in particular the holiday season, I have a desire to connect. I want to be able to tell the people in my life that I love them, that I'm thinking about them, and I want to show up for them in ways that make them feel really special. The holiday season is a lovely time. It's another excuse to kind of show up and be miraculous to people, wildly loving, to do things that are mind-blowing. And so connecting for me and I think for most of us is a great way to impart meaning into the holiday season. But what does that look like, right? I mean, do we just call people on the phone and be like, hey, what's going on, pal? How you doing? Good to see you. Take care. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, when we say connecting, we want it to be profound. And the hard part is that a lot of the world's changed. You know what I mean? The way we connect and who we can connect with. And I know that for a lot of people, connection's really challenging because perhaps you have lost somebody, or perhaps they are far away and you're not able to be with them in this season. And that's incredibly hard. And I just hope you know that I really am thinking of you. And I still hope that you find a way to draw some meaning and to connect in the way that you can to make this holiday feel as special as it possibly could. As we get older, we have to recognize that the number of things that are like our childhood where they remain perfect, that number shrinks. But the magic and the beauty and the meaning that's inherent in them, for me, has only grown more valuable because I realize that it is precious, that it is finite. And so I hope that you can find in this holiday season, however you show up to it, a way to connect, to give yourself the space to really feel that inside of this season.
Hey Eastlake, Peter here. Thanks so much for tuning in to watch this message. I wanted to do just a quick interruption to say thank you to so many of you who are making regular contributions to Eastlake. Eastlake is a nonprofit, and everything that we do is because of a community of consistent and generous people who really believe in this place and want to see it continue. So if you're a part of that community, thank you for how you make this place go. If you are tuning in regularly and are part of this community but you haven't yet jumped in to making a financial contribution, we would encourage you to do that and encourage you to go to eastlakecc.com to help support Eastlake as a community and continue to make these messages possible. Thanks so much for letting me interrupt your message. Let's jump back in.
So we want to connect. We know that's a big value. That's something that usually makes these seasons mean more to us. So the big thing that I would advise is you want to first off, and this is just me. I don't know what your family's like, but my family, as you could tell from my personality, it's a lot of big talkers, a lot of big energy, a lot of strong opinions, and it can get really tense very quickly. So I tend to, before I go into social things or before I attend, a holiday party where everyone's going to be there, right, is I kind of decide what my boundaries are socially. And what I mean by that is, what am I here to participate in? What am I here to connect in? And that's what I'm going to offer to people. That's what I'm going to talk about. And that's what I'm going to listen to. And I know that sounds kind of strange, but I think for me, right, you can just show up somewhere and just let everything happen the way it's going to happen. And that's not necessarily a problem, but it's not actually the same as connecting, because otherwise they're just kind of general conversations. And that's not bad. But it's not necessarily the space where I'm being intentional about what I want this holiday to mean, what I want this moment, this expression of the holiday to mean. So when I'm there at a holiday party and I see my friends, I could walk up to them and talk to them about the latest Marvel movie, which I'm very inclined to do. Or what I could do is walk up and go, hey man, I just want to say that one of the best things in my life is that for the last 15 years, you've been a part of it. I'm really grateful that you're around, and I hope you know that you mean such a great deal to me. I get that that's wildly vulnerable, and maybe some people will struggle with that, but I can also tell you that the reaction you get from genuine attempts to connect are profound, and the conversations that arise from them and the space that it creates between you and that other person, especially in this season, is pretty dang wild and really lovely. And so I hope that you find a way to do that and recognize that you can set the boundaries in your language and how you connect and communicate that will engender these deeper, more vulnerable, more honest, and I think far more meaningful conversations. And the other thing too is, right, you got to listen. You really have to listen. I think especially in this season, like my son is 6. He has a million stories. He has a million things about the holiday that he wants to ask me, a million things about just life all the time. And sitting down with him and getting to talk with him and listen to him, I think the biggest thing I'm realizing is, and because it's not my strong suit, I've said this here once, I've said it 1,000 times, I'm not the best listener. And the problem is that I've noticed that the more that I listen, the more that the people that I'm really trying to connect with feel connected to me. And I think as I've gone about and done that, I've realized that like just to be able to show up in these spaces, in these functions that we're all doing and attending, and just be the listener, it's not a role that I take on all the time, but I'm trying it out. And I will say that it's crazy how much more I feel connected to people, because the depth, it's not that I'd never listened at all before, it's that I just didn't listen at the same way and at the same level. And I'm finding that I'm just connecting to people, and I'm feeling so much more connected to the people I love because I know more. I've heard more, and they also become aware that you're really there listening, and then what they begin to offer is so much more. So I would also say in the season, if you're looking to connect, try listening more. Try giving the people in your life a space where you're just going to listen, and you don't have to comment on everything. Sometimes you just have to be there to be present to it, and that for some people is like, it's the best thing in the world, and it really makes them feel like you see them and you hear them. So let's say that we have, decided to be present. We've done all the things. We got the right list. We've reduced our options. We're really, really focused. And then say and in that time of those things that we decide we're going to do, we've begun connecting. We've begun checking in with people. We've begun expressing ourselves. We've begun making sure that we're intentional with the way that we spend our time with the people in our life, using it to talk about the beautiful things and the lovely things. And again, just to point this out, it's not to say that you don't ever have to have that. You shouldn't be having challenging conversations, and you shouldn't be having those. It's just that in the season, when I think most of us want to believe the best about one another, where we want to believe the best about ourselves, and where we want to believe that we can create a far more lovely world, that there's something about this season that says hope counts a little bit more, love means a little bit more, family means a little bit more. This is a good time to just say the lovely things and to be that for people. I think that leads me into my third point, which is that the other part of making the holiday meaningful is you kind of have to be the magic. Now, people say this all the time, right? You got to find the magic. If you do this, we go here, it's so magical. And if you do this thing, then it's so, and it's not because that's always untrue, right? They could be right. But it's also the recognition that one of the hard parts about trying to find the magic is you have to be like Nicolas Cage from National Treasure, right? Like, you don't know where it is. Like, they might say, hey, this tradition is really brilliant, or this event's really cool, or this song, or this place. But the issue then becomes that you might not experience any of these as magical. And so because no one can ensure, otherwise I'd just sit up here and give you a list of the top 5 things you should do, but we all know that you might not like those. So then the tricky part is how do you create the magic in the holiday? How do you get to it? And my take is that the most magical holidays that I've been a part of, I've been the magic. And by that I mean that basically I've decided right away, in what way am I going to show up this holiday? Like, what's the space that I'm going to provide for people when they're around me and I'm with them, especially in this last week? And I always decide that what I'm going to do is be the guy that comes up and is the weird, like, super warm, super complimentary person. And by compliment, I mean, like, the person who says not like 50 things in a row, but I come around, like, see my sister, and I'm like, hey, I just want you to know that I love you so much, and I'm so grateful for you, and that you are such a staggeringly brilliant human being. I'm so glad you're around. And throwing that out every once in a while, I know it's a lot. And for some people, it's kind of like, that's tough to hear. Compliments are hard for anyone to accept in general. But I noticed that what it does is it creates a space where they really do feel loved and seen. And immediately when that's present, the amount of magic that we all feel and we all experience, it triples. And the holiday just becomes amazing because it starts to be reciprocated and it starts to flow. And then all of a sudden, you're in the magic. You're in a space where we're all contributing that part of us we know that we can show up with and that we can do that is lovely and beneficial to the people around us. And the second thing is, when you're trying to basically be the magic, right, you got to do one deed for another in the form of just pure joy. So I'm going to say, like, I don't know who this is. It could be a close friend. It could be whatever. I might even say it'd be wise to try doing one person you're tight with and one person you don't know. just to do something where you really show up. Because part of the way human psychology works is generosity triggers so many lovely parts of the brain, as does gratitude, right? As does connection. But the thing is that serving another person and showing up for somebody in a way, and that can be anything from donating a meal to a family that may need one, and which all these kinds of things exist. But the other thing it can also be is, like, I do this every once in a while. I'll pick one friend every year because I just frankly don't have the money to buy gifts for all my friends. But I try to pick one gift and I give it to my friend with a really heartfelt long letter. Just telling them why they're in my life, why I'm so grateful for them, what I hope they find this holiday season, what I hope they know about the way I feel about them. And then I give them something that I think is a great representation, something that I know they're going to love. And when I do that, it gives them such a sense of magic, right? Of being seen, of being loved. But then for me, suddenly I'm aware that, like, what a power to have, to be able to show up in another person's life and just do this, to just will this kind of positive, good, loving energy into their space at any time. And immediately, everything means more between me and that person and that day and that space. And then the last thing is this. Give yourself one thing you really want. And that doesn't mean like a gift. It can be, but it doesn't necessarily mean like shoes or a coat or something. But it can mean like a space that you really want. Like maybe it's a day of quiet or a night with a partner where you guys just really get to be with one another. Or sitting out drinking a bourbon and looking at the Christmas lights, or listening to songs and making cookies with your family, or whatever it is. But give yourself one real space that's just about you. Holidays are really tricky because we really do want them to mean so much. And the hard part is like, I've gone through this last year, and I know a lot of people have, that there's been grief in my life this last year. And so it's hard to hold on to the magic because you can feel as if it's been stolen from you. I'm very fortunate to have a small boy, but even then I realize that the point of this holiday, the point of this season, is to simply believe in magic and to be someone who makes it, and to see that there are ways to connect, there are ways to be present to all that's happening around us. And when I say all those things, I think people think like, oh, great, that's a great list of things to do, for the holidays. And it is. It's really helped me. But here's the other part. It just works for regular life, too. Like, you can be present, and you can connect, and you can be the magic at any time that you want to. And so whether your holiday starts today, a week from now, a month and a half from now, or I don't know, but whenever, you can just decide that you want to live inside this and you want to create this all the time. And I think if we do that, we'll find that not only is this holiday more meaningful, our life just is. I hang around my son, and he's a young guy, just a little dude. But his ability to be transparent with how he feels and what he thinks about me is one of the most magical things in my life. And I realized that, like, it's not crazy complex to create a sense of specialness, but it does require vulnerability and authenticity. And those are things that we can do at any time. And so I hope as you enter the final stage, generally for most of us in this holiday season, and for the rest of us as it continues on, I hope that you know that this season is really up to you, that what it becomes and what it means, as in my prayers, what you hope for and what you see and what matters, these are all things you get to write, things you can influence. And if you give yourself some space, you find some ways to connect, and you really show up to participate in all of it, I think you'll find that this is one of the most meaningful seasons of the year. And I hope that as we begin to practice this, that we as a community, that we're able to realize that, like, this is one of the primary ways we differentiate ourselves from other people around us. The way that we show up in unique and loving and crazy ways is how present we're able to be, is how much we're able to connect, is how much we can show up and be the magic in other people's lives and in our own. And I think if we do that, we can look forward to many holiday seasons to come, many moments of magic and profound moments of meaning. So thank you so much for your time. I wish you the happiest of holidays. Thank you, Eastlake. Have a great, great, great end of the year. Take care. Peace.
Thank you for joining us. To make a donation, head to eastlakecc.com/donate.